After years of stalled legislation, President Obama announced new executive orders on guns. The new rules promise to tackle some factors that contribute to violence here in Chicago. Now, with me from the White House via satellite is one of President Obama's senior advisors, as well as a Chicago native. Please welcome Valerie Jarrett. Explain the new rules and what will they do?
What can we do to make sure that it doesn't matter where you sell a gun, but if you sell guns and you're in the business of selling guns, you got to get a license and you got to do a background check. We also have to make sure that we keep our streets safer. And so we need to beef up our ATF agency, adding over 200 new agents so they can go out there and find the people who are selling these guns illegally. We have to beef up our FBI to make sure we're getting accurate data from the cities and states so that when we do a background check, it is complete. We have to figure out what are we going to do to prevent some of this violence by putting resources to mental health. So the president's announced $500 million that should go to mental health so that we can treat people before it becomes a crisis. And we need to figure out how to make guns safer. If you and I can put our thumbprint on our iPad and keep anybody else from using it, why isn't every gun like that so you can make sure that only the people who are intended to have guns have them?
Wow. I think that's outstanding. How will these rules reduce the gun violence, particularly here in a city like Chicago?
If we can figure out ways of making sure that everybody gets a background check, and you have to ask yourself, what law-abiding citizen wouldn't want to subject themselves to a background check if what that means is that somebody else who would do something wrong with a gun is prevented from having one? And so let's reduce the number of guns. What happens in Chicago often is that even though it has tight gun laws, right next door in Indiana, you have looser ones. So people go over to Indiana, buy a bunch of guns, and come and sell them in the streets of Chicago out of the back of a truck. And we need to make sure that we're prosecuting people who are violating the law and allowing those guns to go into the wrong hands. But Steve, of course, it's more than that too. And I was listening to the earlier part of your conversation. We have to make sure all our young people have a chance to that American dream. If children grow up thinking that it is unlikely for them to live past 21, how can we expect them to dream big? So we need to take care of all of our children.
Yeah. And Valerie, just one more thing. What is President Obama's message to the families in this room here and across America who've lost someone to gun violence?
Well, Steve, what I want them to know is that he is with them day and night. They stay in his prayers and in his heart. They are not alone. When he spoke that day, many of the families that he has met across the country as he has gone from funeral to funeral and memorial service to memorial service were gathered with us there. I know that you have the Hadia Pendleton's family there with you. I attended her funeral with the First Lady. And when you look into the eyes and hearts of people who you've seen over this 7-year period, people whose children will not grow up, who won't have an opportunity to graduate from high school or get married or become a grandparent, I want all of those families to know that the president will never leave you behind. He is going to fight to keep all of our children safe. And the steps he took a couple of weeks ago, they're not the whole solution. We still think Congress needs to act. They have to pass more comprehensive laws. We all have a responsibility, too, to make sure our children stay safe. He would want you to know that the manufacturers and the retailers, they need to be held accountable, too. Everybody has a role to play in this. But mostly, we hold them in their prayers. And Steve, as he said when he was in Charleston at Reverend Pickney's funeral, the amazing grace that we have seen from these families who know they can't do anything about what happened to their child, but that they can try to help somebody else's child. And if we can save one child, isn't it worth it?
Yeah. Hey, folks, welcome. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click here to subscribe to my channel. That way you won't miss a single hot new video, some really good stuff. And then I want you to click here to see more clips from the show right now.